For the agenda, the first item is about the company profile. And at the end of this webinar, you will be able to identify the key features of GigaSync and to make different configurations and different devices. Okay. Some highlights of 9 Dot. We design and manufacture innovative power supply solutions with protection, remote management for power over Ethernet-based systems. We are a 100% Italian-owned company, born in 2016, and more than 10 years of experience in telecommunication industry. Research and development, continuous cooperation, and strategic arrangement with the University of Pisa. We really enjoy to provide our devices to telecommunication companies involved to bridge the digital divide, connecting unserved and underserved communities. And we also provide innovative solutions to the industry for .0, smart cities, and security and video surveillance systems. Okay. And here's our references of customers who have installed 9 Dot products in their infrastructures. Veolo in Italy that installed more than 2,000 units to bring internet where others don't arrive. Rise Broadband that provided high-speed internet and digital phone service in rural and suburban areas in Midwest, Rock Mountain, and Southwest. And Aristotle Unified that connected 9 hard-to-reach countries in 8 months in Arkansas. And Sacred Wind expanded broadband service to about 400 square miles of mostly Navajo lands in New Mexico. So that's all from this side. I think we should move on to GigaSync presentation. So I introduce Lisandro, my colleague, project manager, who is responsible for the technical department. I'll let Lisandro speak.
Okay, thank you very much, Monica. Thank you very much, Elaine, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for being here, being part of this webinar about GigaSync. I'm very happy to introduce our GigaSync version 3 to you. So let's start. Well, this is the version 3 of the GigaSync. It's a GPS synchronizing PoE system. It provides a power source for power over Ethernet devices or directly by bipolar or 4-poles terminal. This is a new release of our product. It's about 4 poles terminals and with synchronization over power. Here you have the 4 terminals, bipolar terminals cartridge, and here the PoE with or without Cambium synchronization. As someone of you knows, the base unit contains the control systems and the main interface. We have a dual processor inside the base unit, and also we have a hotspot Wi-Fi to set up the main configuration through, for example, a smartphone or a tablet or maybe a computer laptop. The cartridges define the power mode, so we can provide power to PoE devices, to bipolar terminal devices. It's the case of, for example, of devices with fiber optic, and the new release, a kind of 4 poles terminals with synchronization called sync over power. Okay, as we have launched the new GigaSync version 3, I would like to show you which are the new features compared to the previous version. So to the features that you already know, we have added these new features. Web interface, we have a new, completely renovated, more intuitive with new graphics and new functionalities that we are going to show you in this webinar. A reduction of cell consumption, so we designed a new hardware improving even more the input to output voltage drop. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, we developed a new cartridge third CS, that means Cambium synchronization over 4 poles terminals. And more power. This is a new feature. It's a more important feature, one of the most important features for 9.0 and for our client, because we can reach up to 3 ports simultaneously with the cartridges PoE CS and third CS. Here we have a comparison. The difference between the version 2 and the version 3 are that PoE CS cartridge can reach up to 12 amps in the same cartridge, and even the third CS cartridge can reach up to 12 amps. All cartridges are compatible with both versions of GigaSync, so in other words, you won't have any kind of compatibility problems. The only thing you need to remember is that with PoE CS and third CS, we can reach up to 12 amps per cartridge. That is a lot of power. Well, let's move to some details of every technology or every cartridge. The PoE and PoE CS cartridges have the same appearance, but PoE CS has Cambium and Canopy Sync. So you can choose PoE without synchronization or PoE CS with synchronization. It's a gigabit PoE with 4 ports. The ports are isolated between the LAN ports and the PoE ports. The pinout of the PoE ports are defined by a hardware key that we call GigaKey. Here you have the 4 different models of GigaKey. This is for solve the different PoE pinouts that we have in the market. Okay, we know that the same brands or sometimes the different brands have different models with different pinouts. So in order to simplify this work, we designed the GigaKey to insert in the side slots that you can see here, and that's all to have the desired pinout. Every port is protected against short circuits, over voltage with double phase, and it can power even the high power devices up to 3 amps per port of typical load. As I mentioned before, it has Canopy and Cambium synchronization in the same cartridge. The other technology is the third cartridge with 4 bipolar terminals. It was designed to power and protect devices with optical fiber data connection. In every cartridge, we got monitoring the different variables, for example, the internal temperature, the load consumption, the voltage through our web interface or our command line. In this case, every port is protected against short circuits or voltage with double phase protections, and also we can handle 3 amps per port, but 6 per cartridge. This is the new release. As I mentioned before, it's especially designed for a new product of Cambium Networks called CnWave 28 that we are going to see in one example. This is this is the only device that can power sync over power. So in the same 4 ports terminal, you can have the voltage and the synchronization. It's compatible with sync over power Cambium devices. Again, we have the same protection that in the other cartridges, and we have we are able to monitoring the different variables of our device. Okay, we can reach again 12 amps with a single cartridge. Okay, now we are going to see a typical installation. As we can see here, we have a router in order to provide the network to the different devices, but we can see in some typical installation that we need different kind of voltages, for example, 29 in order to feed a Cambium CnM4, or 57 to feed a CnM5, or 48 volts. But in this case, maybe you are asking why we need to install different devices, because if you want to synchronize canopy sync with canopy sync different Cambium devices, you will need maybe the CnM4, and also if you have Cambium devices with Cambiums in synchronization, you will need this kind of device. And sometimes you have in your facilities some devices with high power, with maybe 90 volts. So you will need a high power PoE switch. The typical problems that we have in this kind of facilities is the low efficiency, the low power, because as the market call it high power, because the last standard is 802.3 BT that can reach up to 90 watts in the better case. Sometimes there are in the market devices that can consume more than 90 watts, and it's not enough to have a high power switch in our facility. So after that, we need to install different protections, because this kind of devices don't have protections after the PoE ports. So we can install different kind of devices in our facilities. And how can we address the issues present on a typical installation? We have the solution, we have the GigaSync. So in the same installation, the same facility, we can solve this in a different way with our GigaSync with only one device. Okay, we can choose the GigaSync to meet the requirements, to simplify your facility and to make it more versatile. Just to show some examples, it's very easy to make the previous configuration that you have seen only with one GigaSync. Here we have a PoE cartridge that could be with Cambium synchronization, canopy synchronization, a bipolar terminal cartridge to connect non-PoE devices, and also we have added the third CS cartridge because maybe you can connect a new Cambium CnWave 28. So now I would like to show you the web remote management. This is the new release, a completely new web interface. We have developed a completely new, more intuitive, as you can see, and with more functionalities. But let's see the overview of the web interface. I will try to share the web interface. Here we are connected to the GigaSync that we have in the rack near here. So this is the dashboard, the main screen. At the left, you can see the controller. If you choose this slot, you can see the information regarding the, for example, the controller module and all the most important information. For example, the temperature, the voltage, the software version, even the information regarding the network, Wi-Fi hotspot, the IP address, the hotspot signal, password, and the event log with different colors in order to highlight the most important events. If I choose, for example, the first cartridge, would be the first cartridge in the front of the GigaSync. So, for example, here we have the PoE-CS cartridge. In the second slot, a PoE without Cambium synchronization, and in the third place, a terminal cartridge. Here we have we will able to manage every single port. For example, we can make a power cycle, shut down the port, rename in order to recognize easier our infrastructure. We can change the synchronization, canopy, Cambium, and in the last part we have the GPS information. Here we can see the information if the GigaSync is acquired the synchronization pulse by the external GPS or by another GigaSync, or I don't know, CMM5 or UGPS or CnPulse from Cambium. It's able to acquire the synchronization pulse from another device. Here we have the information regarding the SATs. This button is to localize our facility. As you can see here, we are in Italy, near to Pisa. So that is the information. Here we have the direct access to the dashboard, to the event log, and to the information about the users. Okay. So let me show you a comparison table. These are some important features that maybe you know about the GigaSync and about also about others devices present on the market. Okay, Canopy and Cambium Sync are both methods of synchronization by Cambium networks. We have both of them in the same unit, in the same cartridge. We have GPS redundancy, non-PoE ports, and the protection I have mentioned. And we have the possibility to remote management our device from the web interface, from a command line, or maybe you can integrate it in as an SNP platform. And also we have technical support that is very important for our clients. We pay attention to all of the mails that arrive to the technical supports in order to solve it as soon as possible. But the highlighted features that I want to show you are those present in this table. A typical power that we can reach with GigaSync is about 1,800. That means 150 watts per port. It's a lot of power. Here, the other devices present on the market can reach up to 90 watts because it's the last PoE standard, 800 2.3 VT. But unfortunately, they don't take into account the most powerful devices on the market, such as Cambium Medusa 3 GHz, or some devices from Ceragon or SAF, which require more power than 90 watts. The surge protections that I mentioned, we have double phase protections. Hot swap, you can insert or extract the modules, the cartridges in hot. We have floating ground. You can connect one positive voltage to one cartridge and one negative voltage in another cartridge. There is no problem because we have floating ground. Galvanic isolation between LAN and PoE. The GigaKey in order to simplify the pinout mapping. The hotspot Wi-Fi to set up the configuration in an easy way, and we can feed the base unit with independent power either through bipolar terminal or through a PoE port. So let me to show you some configurations in order to understand better how to build a bond with GigaSync and with all the accessories and with all the devices you are going to connect to the 9.GigaSync. So one question that you are making maybe is how to choose the GigaKey. No, as I mentioned before, this GigaKey is a solution. It's just to simplify the selection of the pinout. Remember that different models or different devices, even if they are from the same brand, they have different pinout. So the positive or the negative go to the different wires. So in order to simplify this activity, we designed the GigaKey. Other PoE injectors use jumpers that you need to install manually, opening the device. So as you can understand, it's not at all user-friendly and fast as our solution, GigaKey. So for that, I think it's very important that you can understand the simplicity of our solution that makes GigaSync more flexible. So the first thing we need to do is to check the power method compliant or PoE pinout of your device. We can find this information in the technical documentation, maybe data sheets or user manuals. The information will appear as follows. Maybe you can see the standards. Maybe you can see a pinout of this kind, 4 and 5 the negative, 7 and 8 the positive. So for example, if you have a Cambium device that needs synchronization, we know that the GigaKey, that the correct GigaKey is the white one. No, but right now I'm going to show you some examples in order to be clear. The second important thing to do is to choose the correct GigaKey from our manual. In our manual, we have some examples and we have the features of every GigaSync in order to understand which is the correct GigaKey for your devices. So this is the information that we can find on the manual in order to choose the correct GigaKey to feed our devices. If you have, for example, this standard 802.3 AF and AT will be the blue, but don't worry if you have, I don't know, if you don't find information or if you are not sure about how to choose the GigaKey, you can write to support@9.it and we will help you. So let me to show you one example with different brands. We are going to see a Mimosa. We've chosen the model A5C, but just to show you an example, let me to tell you that we can power every kind of PoE present on the market. So you have to be sure that if you have a PoE device, we can power it. So this is the information you can find on the datasheet or on the user manual or maybe in the official website of the brand. Please pay attention to the system power method. In this case is 802.3 AT compliant. So if we move to the previous slide, here we have the blue GigaKey. Okay. So for that Mimosa, we need to choose the blue GigaKey. And we must pay attention also to the power input voltage, as we need to connect the correct power supply. So I have chosen 48 volts, but it could be 54 in this case because we have a range. Another kind of devices that we can show you as an example is the ubiquity. Here we choose this device, but we can could be another one. There is no problem. The information on the data sheet is the following: 24 volts. About the power supply and about the power method, we have the positive in the wires 4 and 5 and the negative in the 7 and 8. If we remember, the correct GigaKey will be the gray one. So that's all. We need to pay attention to the method compliant and then go to our manual, to our GigaSync manual, and choose the correct GigaKey. So what we have made is this configuration. This is the back part of the GigaSync. Here we have in the slot number 3, 24 volts for the ubiquity with 4 GigaKey gray. In this case, the cartridge, both cartridges are PoE because we won't need Cambium synchronization. And in the first cartridge, we feed it with 48 volts because we are talking about the Medusa A5C with 4 GigaKey blue. So to build a bill of materials is very simple. It's very simple to prepare a BOM, even when you are going to connect 8 devices from 2 different brands. We are talking about Mimosa and Ubiquity, but we are talking about the same GigaSync. The same base unit are going to power supply 8 devices with different voltage, different GigaKey, and different brands. So we will need 4 Mimosa, 4 Ubiquity, 1 unit base, 2 PoE cartridges, 2 GigaKey blue, and 2 GigaKeys gray. As optional, we can supply power by this standalone AC/DC. So let's move on the next example with Cambium devices. Now here we have a PMP 450M Medusa. As I mentioned in the first slide when I was explaining about the GigaKey, if we are talking about Cambium devices with synchronization, we don't need another way to choose the white GigaKey. Remember this. We have developed this white GigaKey for Cambium devices with synchronization. This is on the purpose to avoid confusion. Okay, let me to show you one example more, a Cambium PTP820. Here, this device is not able to be synchronized. So in this case, we won't need to choose the GigaKey white. Instead of, we need the GigaKey blue for this standard. Remember, 1000 base T matched with blue GigaKey. Here we have 1000 base T. Again, this is the information that you can find on the data sheet on the user manual. So the configuration is the next one. First of all, we need the external GPS with the radio frequency cable, because in this case we have Medusas and we are going to synchronize the 4 Medusas. So for that I connected the external GPS here. the third cartridge at 48 volts to supply to feed the PTP 820 with the 4 GigaKey blue, and the first cartridge also 48 volts, but in this case to feed the Medusas. To build the bomb is very simple as well. 4 Cambium Medusa, 4 PTP, the unit base. In this case, we will need a cartridge with Cambium synchronization with the 4 GigaKey whites, another cartridge PoE with 4 GigaKeys blue, the GPX, and the radio frequency cable. So again, it's very easy because we are talking about 8 devices from the same brand, because we are talking about Cambium networks, but we have different features. In one case, we need synchronization. In other case, we don't need synchronization. But what happens if we need to expand our telecommunication site, but in this case with another device, very different from the ones I already have installed? Let me to show you one example with the Cambium CnWave 28. Here we have the information on the datasheet. In this case, as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, this device have the particularity that can be powered by 4 poles and can be synchronized over power. That can be called sync over power. Pay attention to the power, to the maximum power consumption. It talks about 180 watts max. Okay, this is a new release from Cambium network, and the consumption is quite high. So what will change in our previous configuration? Now, as you can remember, this was the previous configuration. What will change? Well, it's very easy and very simple. That's the only thing we need to do is to provide power at 54 volts in the empty cartridge, and after that we insert the cartridge in the empty slot and connect the CnWave 28. We are talking about very different technologies, because remember, here we have Cambium synchronization, here we have sync over power, and here we have only PoE. We don't need to buy another equipment. We don't need to buy another GigaSync. Just we need to buy a cartridge, and we can feed 4 new devices and expand our infrastructure. So how the previous bomb will look with the addition of the 4 CnWave 28 devices? Well, just we need to add 1 cartridge, the 4 Cambium devices, and that's all. Okay. Now I'm very glad to share with you a very little live demo in order to be more clear about the easy way to configure and to implement the different devices on our GigaSync. So let me 1 second. I'm going to turn on the cameras. Well, here we have a webcam. You can focus on our communication rack. And what you are seeing, let me to tell you first of all that from your computer or your laptop, you can enlarge the webcam window to see them more clearly. What you are seeing on this webcam is this configuration that I'm showing you in the PowerPoint presentation. Here we have the GigaSync with 3 cartridges. The left cartridge is a PoE with Cambium synchronization. In the middle, we have a PoE cartridge without synchronization. And the third is a bipolar terminal cartridge. We have connected the GPS external. And I'm going to show you the 3 devices that we are going to connect. Okay, first of all, I'm going to show you one example with IP50C. Here we have, and you can see on the webcam. Here we have the IP. Here the other examples that I'm going to show you on the next slides. So I would like to show you even more features about the GigaSync. Here we have a very little physical interface with 3 LEDs. This indicates that we are acquiring the synchronization ports and the status of the unit base and the alarm. Here we have the 3 different cartridges, but bipolar terminal, PoE, and PoE with Cambium synchronization. It's very easy to extract the module. Here in this part we have the network ports, and these are the PoE ports. The recognition of the cartridge is automatic, so you can introduce the cartridge. After a few seconds, the unit base will recognize it automatically. Here we have the on green, so that means that the recognition was okay. So now I'm going to connect the IP50C. First of all, the network, the black cable. After that, the PoE. And pay attention here. The device is turning on. I would like to show you through the web interface. Here we have the Cambium IP50C. The GigaKey is the white one. Here we can see the name. And the synchronization is off. Here we have the web interface of the IP50C. Let me to show you how we can change the synchronization. As we have seen, the synchronization is off. Okay, so this device cannot be synchronized. As we see here, the sync is down. But if we turn on the synchronization with Canopy, for example, after a few seconds, we will see Canopy here. Okay, and now we can see after some seconds more that the sync is up here. Okay, that means the device was synchronized. As you can see, also here this LED indicates the synchronization is on. So was very easy through the web interface. Okay. Now the next example is with the Ceragon. A Ceragon IP50C. So we are going to connect the Ceragon in this port, but I would like to show you how to introduce the GigaKey in the slot. It's very easy. Here we have a GigaKey blue. So to map the pinout port, you need to introduce the GigaKey on the corresponding slot. After that, introduce the module on the base unit. We need to wait some seconds. And here we know that the module was recognized for the unit base. But I would like to show you first of all, I would like to show you how the protection, the short circuit protection, acts in this device. Here we have a cable. Here we have the negative and the positive, and if I make them touch, I'm causing a short circuit. So I'm connecting this cable, and I'm going to do a short circuit. As you can see, the LED is in fall, but the protection acts and doesn't let the voltage pass, protecting the device. After a few seconds, the system will try again, and if the problem persists, the port will continue in the fault state. But if on the other hand, it finds that the short circuit is not then it will power normally. Okay, we're going to see if after this short circuit, the port is still working. So I'm going to connect a Ceragon IP50C to PoE. Pay attention to the device here. Okay, perfect. So the port, after the short circuit, the port is still working normally. That is how the short circuit protection acts. Now the third example is with a bipolar terminal device. I'm talking about a MikroTik LoRa8. It's an IoT device, just to show you one example and just to show you the versatility of our device. So I'm going to connect the device on the bipolar terminal cartridge, but as you can see, the LED is red. So I'm going to show you on the web interface the third cartridge that the port number 4, MikroTik LoRa8, is off. So turn on, and that's all. The device will be powered on. We can see here we have a green light. That means the device is powered on. So I need to turn again to the presentation. Well, here finalize our demo live. I hope you find it interesting, through which I wanted to show you on a real stage the different possibilities that GigaSync gives us with its design, as our motto says, thought outside the box. Okay, that is a completely versatile, modular, and powerful solution, not only to supply power, but also to protect, synchronize, and remotely manage your infrastructure. So I'm going to turn off the web cameras. Why choose GigaSync? Let's summarize what are the main features of this device. Protections. To summarize, we have three kinds of protection: the double phase protections, the gas discharge tube for the electronics, and the transient voltage suppressor. It's a double phase. One acts more quickly than the other. A short circuit protection, as we have seen in the example. And we have isolation between LAN and PoE. In the market, there are no devices with those protections. Flexibility. We've seen that it powers different kinds of devices from different brands, different models, different voltage needs, but in the same one unit rack. Modularity. GigaSync can have different configurations because we have different technologies that on the cartridges. We have the GigaKeys to map in the pinout, and we have Canopy and Cambium sync. Space, as I mentioned, one unit rack, up to 12 devices, each cartridge 4 ports. So you can make an infrastructure with 12 devices. Management, remote control, embedded. You don't need to install a software version. You don't need to acquire another module. It's just all in the GigaSync. The remote control simplify not also the possibility to manage all your infrastructure, also to make support remotely and to save money, to make a troubleshooting from UR. And the last, the power. 150 watts per port is a lot of power, so this make GigaSync one of the most powerful and complete devices on the market. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm going to check the platform dashboard to see if we have any questions. Let me see. Well, we don't have any queries at the moment. However, the channel remains open so that you can send us your queries, your questions by email to support@9.it, and we will be very happy to answer them.
Thank you for the presentation, Lisandro. That was very informative, and the live demo was great. Thank you for doing that.
Okay. Thank you to everyone to joining the webinar. Monica, I give you the word to you. Monica Maggioni.
Hear me, Lisandro? Do you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Thanks, Lisandro, for your live demo, which we hope was helpful, and thanks everyone to attend for your attention. And remember that we'll be pleased to answer you for any information and further configurations about GigaSync. And thank you in advance to fill in the satisfaction survey. So, Lisandro, if you would like to add anything else or not, we could.
Okay, just to say thank you to everyone to join the webinar. Thank you, Elaine, for your marketing and your support activity. Thank you, Monica Mangioni, and thank you to the 9dot marketing team to support this activity. Well, we were in contact. Thank you very much to everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.